The first that we have is some of our hot doc reviews that we've got coming out of the Hot Docs Film Festival, which to me, it's the place to be in order to be able to catch some of these, because it's some incredible documentaries that make it all the way towards the end of the year, especially for the Oscars and other award shows. But we've already caught a lot of these. We did a whole preview for it that you can go catch, that we put a little segment up. A lot of great documentaries from other festivals that are playing here. And I got to start off with my favorite one so far that I've seen. It's this movie called Lost in the Shuffle. It was one that I had told you about early on, too. I said, yo, this one looks like it's going to be pretty good. I want to see if I can get a poster here because they don't have it on Letterboxd. This is a movie that follows a magician who is very big into card tricks, and in this movie he starts kind of investigating, where do cards come from? What is the history behind why it's a king or a queen? And is there a secret murder mystery that's been in the cards the entire time, and that's why the King of Hearts, I believe, has the sword into his head? And I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? It is an incredible documentary if you're just going in for the history of cards and how they were made. Then seeing other magicians and their love for the sport of magic tricks. And then this man's weaving in this crazy historical murder mystery about a king. I would recommend it highly, bro. This is an incredible documentary. I think the lead really shows the passion into what he's in for. And just the way that he ends up culminating all of the research that he does into a show that is then the movie. Incredible. Lost in the Shuffle.
Yeah, it sounds like a Dan Brown book, like we're about to get into the Da Vinci Code or something.
This is the Da Vinci Code of magicians over here. It's fantastic, man. I was looking at my decks because that's one thing I collect. Alina loves going to different places to collect sets of cards, and he's always saying the rules got to be you get two, one to play with, one to keep. I just like keeping mine safe, but I was looking through all my cards. I'm like, wow, you were not wrong. I was looking at cards differently. I felt like in high school when they tell you to do that stuff with a dollar bill.
It blows your mind.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's some good stuff, dude. I highly recommend it. Lost in the Shuffle.
Awesome. Adding it to the list.
I have a trio of stuff of, I want to call them indigenous documentaries that break down not just traditions, but also certain things that are happening at the moment. A big one is the winner. I believe Hot Docs also was releasing who had won their audience awards as well as their jury stuff. And one of the ones that I had wrapped as soon as they had announced it had won an award was Standing Above the Clouds. I had finished it. I was like, wow, this is like the perfect activist film. And then I believe it won like an activist award. It's pretty much talking about in Hawaii. Let me pull up my notes over here. They want to build a telescope up in one of the mountains that would cause it to kind of like destroy a lot of the agriculture and its nature, and in particular kind of combines it with this idea of all of the tourism that happens in Hawaii is the reason why Hawaii keeps getting taken away from the native people who are there. And just the way that it explores the people who are like doing the protests up there, I thought was a really good just time capsule of what they're going through in order to protect this. The fact that it's not just the police, but the police there are also kind of like descendants as well, but they've got no choice. So it's almost like showcasing to you how they've pinned them against each other in order for them to kind of cancel each other out. Because it's almost like, I don't want to say it feels hopeless, but you can see like it's almost an inevitability that they're going to build this just like they've done the other ones, but they're still there protecting it. It does a great job of going through the personal routes of people who have been there in the mountains, whose ancestors have set up places there, and showcasing to you like this is something that we have been trying to protect for the longest time. I mean, it's not just this mountain, it's like whatever they're going to go through next. So I think it rightfully won the award because it's a really good piece of journalism that like if you haven't caught up with anything that may have been happening here, this is the perfect documentary that puts it all together. Standing Above the Clouds.
And it's based on a short film of the same name, which is available to stream right now on the PBS website. So, yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, you can check out the short film version of it already.
I appreciate that there's a lot that they, like they're at Hot Docs, but they're already up on some Canadian sites. Sometimes you need,
totally.
What's it called? A VPN, thank you. But they're available for free already because, I mean, I'm not in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Hot Docs, too, is it's like a conference for documentaries, so it's not necessarily about showing stuff that's not available out there, but it's about, like, bringing the filmmakers and directors together. So sometimes the stuff that's at Hot Docs is more available than you think.
For sure. Another one, again, going with this trio of movies, would be Singing Back the Buffalo. This is a movie where it breaks down pretty much how the buffalo have been kind of taken advantage of. Think of it almost like one of our favorite movies, First Cow, in where that's a film and where the people who were like colonizing were killing too much of the beavers, if I'm not mistaken. And in that, it was almost like Honeyland, where if you use too much of the bees, you end up ruining the entire ecosystem. That's the breakdown that they have going on here, and where it's not just a source of food and obviously for clothing and a lot of the other things that they build with the buffalo, but they also have like a whole kind of like mythology with them. It brings them peace. There's a routine. There are rituals that they do. And people have just come in there and have taken them. Interesting documentary, kind of breaking it down. It did leave me with a couple more questions of like how it works, because in the way that they were complaining about certain people coming from the outside, they also still had F-150s, and they had a lot of like material that they do need from the outside. So I wish they got a little bit more into that, but it was still an interesting breakdown of the ecosystem that they have going on there with the buffalo and the history that they've also had with them as well. But I got a shot on my standout here. I was telling you this even before. If I'm telling Zach about something, spoiling the podcast before we even do the podcast, that's when you know it's good. I played this one called Red Fever, that I was like, all right, we're going to do some history on, native traditions. Bro, they covered everything. It starts off by like breaking down the Met Gala and how the theme for that year was supposed to be American fashion, and they show you everything that's American fashion. Man, they cut to Nope and the little jacket that he had, with the tassels.
Yeah.
They cut to Barbie and Ken.
Ooh.
I'm like, whoa, what are y'all doing here? And they're like, all American fashion is indigenous fashion. And I'm like, okay, you're going to cut to some archives. Bro, they cut to the lady whose father like created the headband. I was like, let's go. They then start breaking down sports. We all know, the Washington Redskins, and you still got the Super Bowl winning dynasty that is the Chiefs. You got the Indians. You got the Braves. They break down how the reason that all of those sports teams are called that is because they're rooted in native players who were creating these plays from the start. Like, they go as far as saying that the reason why people want to get rid of it, sure, it's to kind of like fix up a lot of the, incorrect kind of viewpoints that they have, people doing the chops. Like, one of the guys goes to one of the like tailgates, and they're all doing the chops, and he's just standing there with everybody staring at him as they do the chop. And he's breaking down that, like, while it's a terrible thing to have, the Washington Redskins and people covering themselves in red face, getting rid of those names also gets rid of the history for what they had there. They break down Jim Thorpe, who had to change his name in order to be able to participate in the sports. And that's a legend. If you don't know, look him up or watch this documentary. They break down that these plays from back in the day, they were done by native people. The reason it's called the Hail Mary was because they then get into that whole Killers of the Flower Moon Catholicism that came into Bro, I was astounded by this documentary. I don't even want to spoil the whole thing. This is a perfect breakdown. If you know this stuff, this thing recaps it well. If you don't know, you will be blown away by the way that they're just able to pick certain things and bring it all together. I can't recommend this one enough. A really good documentary to wrap up this trio of indigenous docs that I've been able to catch so far at the film festival.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating, and it's one of those documentaries that is just like seems to be taking a much more thorough look at a thing that maybe a lot of us feel like we have an understanding about, but perhaps it's a lot deeper than we know.
It's pretty good, dude. So catch that one if you are curious. You know what? I had just mentioned to you the dollar bill thing too. They drop a bomb about arrows, and it had me looking back at the dollar bill. I was like, oh my gosh, it's there. It's there. A great one. Red Fever. Keep that one on your radar.
Very cool.
But this next one over here, I'm going to go through a couple more that have varying themes, but are kind of similar. The Right Ahead is a movie that follows Samuel Habib, who at the age of 21 is really trying to get into the dating game. The man is directing the movie himself alongside with his father, who I believe is a filmmaker. So they've been able to kind of create like a co-directed documentary on him as he's trying to get his dating life out there. The dude put all the GoPros around his wheelchair, so he's pretty much just documenting himself everywhere that he goes. And with that, you do get a lot of like iffy moments about how people treat him, because they kind of talk down to him, and that's kind of like his viewpoint of the world. But he's trying to find people who can help him, not just like feel sorry for him, but who can kind of tell him, yo, how do I actually date in this world with a 350-pound chair on me? And I think that's the best part of the documentary. It's showcasing to you that as long as you could build a community of friends who are not just your peers, but are also guides, you're not going to be learning how to date from people who don't know your lifestyle. You have to find the people who have already gone through it. And I thought that was a beautiful way to break it down. It's a great documentary, again, co-directed by the two of them. And I'd put it on your radar as a really good, almost, I don't want to call it a biopic, but almost like a life story that he was able to film of himself as he goes through this next chapter in his life.
Very interesting. I don't know. I mean, I guess I know why, because it's the wheelchair thing, and it brings to mind I Didn't See You There, an award-winning documentary.
Another great one.
We talked about a couple of years ago. But it seems like a much more optimistic or like...
Yeah.
Maybe is it wrong to call it more lighthearted?
Again, I see it as like, here's my viewpoint. I'm
Right.
thinking on the other one, because there was a couple from Sundance last year as well, where it's showcasing to you, it's like, this is my perspective in life, and seeing life through my point of view will help you understand why I go through it. Oh, that was a good one as well. Man, I wish I had the other one locked up over here, but that was one where he directed it also, put the cameras on himself, would set up the cameras, and did it all from his POV.
Right.
So, again, you're getting a good slew of these documentaries from the filmmakers themselves that I think cut out that part of the doc that usually feels like a woe is me and actually makes it a more personal take. So, The Ride Ahead, check that one out, add it to your radar. This next one has been getting rave reviews as well because it's a documentary about this school where a lot of the kids there go through, they're neurodivergent, or they're going through like, a lot of them have these conditions that come up as they're auditioning for this play that is bringing them together so that they can, break out of their shells. It's a Sing Sing, but it's not in a jail. It's in a school, and it's showing you how art can kind of make you less nervous, go through your anxiety, but more than anything, showcase that like you can have a lot of people who may have autism, Down syndrome, all of these different conditions and things that they've grown up with, and still be able to put on a production. They have a version of this that's already up online, which I think is really interesting because they split it into a two-parter. I think you may need a VPN for it as well, but this is the version that they cut up to be, I think, 90 minutes. It's theatrical, and it's really all about the vignettes that you get from each one of the students there. Some of them, like, they go through it. And then some of them, like, you're following their perspective of what their goals are, and when you see them achieve them, especially towards the end where they actually get the play done, I think it's heartwarming. So this is going to be big. It's been a big one out of the festival. I believe it may have picked up an award as well. So keep that one on your radar if you're interested.
Does it have any similarities to one that I think we enjoyed out of South by Southwest, We Can Be Heroes, which is also a little bit about like elevating some neurodivergent people? Yeah.
It is exactly like that. Take that and mix it with, what's the Sundance? Shout out Acura, Theater Camp.
Okay, cool.
There's a little theater camp in there because they're funny, bro, and that's what it's capturing. Again, I'd say that's my connection with this grouping right here, is that you're seeing just a different perspective, not peering in, but like truly observing them from their perspective, so that you get to see their likes, their wants, their anxieties, and actually fleshing them out as people. Another one over here that I have is The Click Trap. I think we have had this movie, a dozen times this year, Zach? Was the one that came out of South by that was also about, like misinformation and the way that it's holding all of this data on you. There was that Netflix one from a couple years ago where it was like everything on your phone is tracking you. This is that again. This is showcasing how everything that you click is creating a profile of you. And in that, they know how to target you. The way that a casino follows you and knows, give him one more win because then he's going to want to still play a little bit more. This is breaking that down to a degree where I think this may have, the other ones have been great, but this may have some of the best visuals, best editing, just showcasing to you kind of how these algorithms work. And then name drops a lot of companies. There was one company in particular that's been mentioned a couple times in other documentaries. I want to say it's Veritas.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, yeah, these people are nasty, dude. And the way that they break it down is, I think it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people. Or it's just going to be, the same documentary that you've seen again. The one big gripe I would have is that they have a couple people there who are like, they're those people who are so set on stopping something that they'd be willing to like take away rights, and they'd be willing to do some like scummy things. And every time there's like one particular talking head that came up, and I'm like, I just don't like you, bro. And I'm not dismissing the doc because of him. But if he saw a doc and didn't like something, he'd dismiss the whole thing. I don't like people who move that way, and there is a little bit of an inkling in this doc that carries that. But I think it's still a really good breakdown of the way that everything that you interact with online is keeping a profile on you and just observing you and using all that data and information on you and abusing you. So the clip trap, exactly how the title describes it. The next one that I have was one that really intrigued me. It's very short, 62 minutes. Smiling Georgia. Politicians wanted them to vote for them. They said, we'll help you with your teeth. You know what? We'll give you new teeth. Remove the teeth. Lost the election. Never came back. Bro, it's only 62 minutes. It's showcasing these families that like have no teeth because these politicians swindled them for a vote.
Crazy.
And then has people from the election, like the politics, come in to like almost film them. And I kid you not, this is the documentary version of what was it called? What's the movie from Looney Porn?
Oh, Bad Luck.
Do not expect
The End of the World, the new Radu Jude film. Yeah.
Do not expect too much from The End of the World.
Yeah.
That is the real life version of this. When a lady comes out, I swore it was like the Nina Haas character. Oh, well, there's not much I could do here. What am I going to do? Fix her teeth? Let's go on to the next person. Or actually it was that someone had already gotten their teeth fixed because their son was like, you can't live like this anymore. So she showed up just to capture them in turmoil and was like, oh, your teeth were fixed. I have nothing to gain sympathy from you from. Let's go to the next one. And it's like the documentary crew is filming the documentary crew. And it reminded me of moments from this movie. Do not expect too much from The End of the World. This one's streaming on Mubi. I would highly recommend it. But when Smiling Georgia comes out, like just the story itself, even if you catch like the news reporting on this, it's some pretty jacked up stuff. Very short documentary, but it kind of showcases to you that all those promises that politicians give to you, hey, make sure you reap them immediately because you'll be left without a voice, without a mouth to be able to vocalize what you had to say. Smiling Georgia.
Yeah, it sounds terrifying, honestly.
It's pretty messed up.
Oh.
I'm down to my final three over here. This next one is a pretty heartwarming one. It's called So This Is Christmas. It's a movie that takes place in Ireland, and it kind of breaks down how, everybody in America knows that Christmas is pretty much just, the biggest capitalist holiday of the season. And this is showing you the people who cannot afford any of that. And yet they are there still trying to create something, for their families. They know they can't get presents. And it almost feels a little voyeuristic. I will give you that. You're like following a lot of people. Not that it's poverty porn, but you're showcasing a lot of these families and the turmoil that they've gone through. But it does it in a way where you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You're seeing the traditions that they're able to keep in order to still be united as a family. It's not afraid to call out Christmas and say, what does Santa Claus have to do with the birth of Jesus, which I respect a lot. But it's also able to showcase to you, when you have these, again, traditions, these annual things that bring people together, there could still be truth there when you're not making it all about who's got the best gift, who's got, who's one-upping the other person, but it's actually about community. So This Is Christmas. Another one to keep your eyes out for. One that I just finished before we started this was Beethoven's 9. A really interesting documentary that takes the breakdown of Beethoven's song and the production of that and then compares it to Ukraine. It's comparing it to Israel and Palestine. And I'm like, how are we going to connect the two over here? And the breakdown ends up being that the way Beethoven's 9 was made and everything that was happening at that period in time ripples down into a symphony we're still playing to this day. So what are the artists who are going through turmoil right now going to create during this horrible moment in time in order to be able to create art that's going to last forever? It's pretty much saying that when there's evil, there's also light at the end of the tunnel, a truth that comes out and goodness that prevails. So another one to check as I wrap it up with honestly the nicest one, a real palate cleanser, my friend. American Cats, The Good, the Bad, and the Cuddly. I'm not even a cat person, bro. This was great. This was fantastic. This is a documentary about decline. So it is a little, I guess, trigger warning for some people out there because they do show you the procedure.
Ooh,
it is this like billion-dollar industry in where because so many cats are being sold, someone has come in and almost made it like they've pitched it as if it was a mandatory thing. Not a decor that you add on, not this, as they almost get them to admit, can I supersize you with this? No, they're like, this is going to help your cat. And because cats can't talk, they have said that there's no pain there, that there's, benefits to it. When in reality, it's just this industry that's causing pain to all these cats because it's made so much money. The director is pregnant and covering this whole thing. And I'm like, yo, she is traveling nationwide to interview people. In particular, this couple who's been fighting against it for the longest time. Let me pull up their names. I want to say it's Jenny and Jim. And they have like a nemesis who has been taking them down all the time. And this documentarian, like, bro, she's K-Dot. She specifically has her eyes set on this man to get him to turn. And it is satisfying how she grills him. Everything that they go through is like this breakdown about how they call it a cat conspiracy because it's saying that there is actual propaganda to kind of let you know that pets are not your children. Because the moment you see them and anthropomorphize, you start seeing them as something else and something that doesn't have pain and emotions. And I thought just a breakdown, as a dog person, I was like, 100%. I'll be there with the cats as a dog person here.
There you go.
Dude, they break down the history of how serial killers are gravitated to cats. And I'm like, damn, there was that Netflix thing. There was the Dahmer stuff. And I'm like, what the hell? They're making connections in there that I thought were pretty interesting in showcasing how this has been a thing in the media in order to a degree promote this industry of decline. A really good documentary. I highly recommend it. And it had one of the cutest credits, bro. They had
cute cat footage?
Production babies.
Aw, that's great.
Right? So
you can't help but love something like that. Are you going to adopt a cat now?
I was like, that's cute.
You get a kitty of your own? Somebody to play with, Liddy?
No, I'm allergic, bro. I sneezed 2 times watching the documentary, but I respect it.
All right. Well,
shout out to the cat people, though.
If we get a hypoallergenic cat, you won't declaw it.
You had to defur him. That's what it's going to be.
There we go. We'll defer him, but not declaw him. That was my dispatch.
Yeah, not declaw them. That was my first dispatch coming out. I'll have another one next week. I got some other ones that I sent to Zach that have been some of my most anticipated. So I still got a couple of other ones. Some award winners, like I said, that have been announced and some shorts. So plenty more docs to come because, by the end of the year, when you see those docs get nominated, just on the short list, forget the 5. Mm-hmm. We're going to cover all 20-something here on the Intercut podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to more dispatches from Hot Docs. A great festival of documentaries, and I'll do my best to watch some before our next weekend must watch.